Antonio Brown announced his retirement from the NFL on Twitter this week for the third time. Now apparently AB wants back in, but he called out the league once again on Instagram, posting, quote, "I've complied with each and every of your investigations here. The fact that you refuse to provide a deadline and reason for the fact you won't resolve your investigations is completely unacceptable. I demand you provide me clarity." Yesterday, longtime NFL insider John Clayton was asked on 93.7 KDKA in Pittsburgh if AB is a Hall of Famer. Okay, so if he actually retired today, AB would still be a Hall of Famer. What do you think?
That's a tough one because he was great for a couple of years, 3 or 4 years. I'm going to say out of bounds.
Really?
I think because they created their own precedent because they had a ridiculous, I would use a word, but I can't use it, for T.O. And it was a bad one. And they created this narrative that, even though he was great, second all-time receiver, touchdowns, at least when he retired, Larry Johnson has passed him. Because nobody wanted him, that he didn't deserve to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer, and it took him 3 iterations to get in. So if Antonio Brown is 10 times T.O., which he clearly is, I don't know how he's a Hall of Famer after 6 seasons and nowhere near the top of the list. So I'm going to say out of bounds if he retired today.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say inbounds. And, the T.O. stuff is interesting, but think about T.D., Terrell Davis. He didn't have 6 great years. A different position. I know he gets a little different there for sure, but listen, Antonio Brown, there's a lot of guys in the NFL that receive, get a lot of targets, and they've got a healthy amount of receptions, and even the yards creep up there, but they might not have the touchdowns. I mean, this guy, in all of those years but one, he had double-digit touchdowns. So he was getting fed. He was getting fed regularly. He was making plays. He was catching 125, 130 balls a year, and he was averaging 12.5 touchdowns over that span. My answer is inbounds. I could see, how was he perceived by those who were voting, and that obviously implicated or affected T.O.
Yeah.
I think Antonio Brown's really one of the best receivers I've ever seen.
How's he going to be judged against his peers? Because that's ultimately how he's going to be determined.
Against his peers?
Against his peers.
One of the best.
So Larry Fitzgerald.
He's better.
DeAndre Hopkins. I'm talking about full career. So Antonio Brown retires now after 6 years. DeAndre Hopkins plays another 5-6 years. Julio Jones plays another 3 or 4 or 5 years.
A.J. Green.
Lower, but he's still A.J. Green. Let's say A.J. Green resurrects himself with Joe Burrow, and I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. The Vikings are now finalizing a multi-year extension with Zimmer, who would have been entering the final year of his contract after this season, 2020. In or out, Zimmer's proven he could be among the elite coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, that's no doubt about this one. Inbounds, BT, and he's done it with lots of injuries at certain places, some disgruntled nature, things going on. He's always had elite defenses, regardless of personnel changes. I want to say inbounds. I think he empowers his offensive coordinators really well. Pat Shurmur was there before Pat became the head coach of the New York Giants, and their offense was fantastic. Kevin Stefanski was the offensive coordinator there for immediately after that. Look where he elevated that offense with Kirk Cousins and the scheme, and he became a head coach now with the Cleveland Browns. So I'm going to say yeah. I think he has proven he's amongst the elite.
I'm going to view this one a little differently here. I'm going to say out of bounds. He's really good. And, yeah, he delegates well, and his teams are competitive almost year in and year out. They also have one of the best rosters year in and year out. So, I mean, they're kind of supposed to be pretty good. And I know they've had a little shifting on the offensive line, but, they've had corners. They've had a couple of pass rushers. They've had weapons at receiver. They've had some weapons in the backfield. They're good. They're a good team. Now, Mike Zimmer shouldn't be penalized for that, but I don't feel as if he ever overachieves. Let me put it that way. I'm going to attack it from that angle. I don't think he ever overachieves, and the great ones overachieves. To me, he achieves a tick below what I believe they should achieve based on their roster, top to bottom. And if that's the case, how can I say you're among the elite coaches in the NFL? You're really good. You're valuable, but there's very valuable, but there's a difference. Elite and very valuable. I think he's in tier 2.
Yeah, he also won the NFC North with Case Keenum. After he lost 2 quarterbacks. I mean, go ahead. I hear you.
Tune in next time for another edition of Inbounds.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.